I want to talk to you about the Chippendales project, because that's coming out in, I think it's a week now.
Yeah, next week.
November 22nd. And you've worked
22nd.
really hard on this, and this is based on a true story.
Yeah, so the show is called Welcome to Chippendales. It's based on the guy who started Chippendales, the male stripping thing, was an Indian immigrant, which I didn't know until I started, until they talked to me about this project. And it's a wild story. Like, a lot of really intense stuff happened. People got murdered. It's like a really crazy. It's just so much happens in it that I don't want to say. And don't go on Wikipedia. Watch the show. And initially, they'd come to me as a movie right after The Big Sick came out. So like 4 years ago. And I said no, because I was very intimidated to play a character like this. And when it came back and now it was a miniseries, I sort of saw the whole thing. They pitched me it's Rob Siegel is the creator of it. He did Pam and Tommy. He's written a lot of great movies like The Wrestler. He did Big Fan. Have you seen that movie with Patton?
Yes, fantastic.
Great writer. And I talked to him 3 or 4 times, and he was like, I think you can do this. And then he pitched me, on the 4th meeting, he pitched me every episode, all 8 episodes. He's like, this is what happens in episode 2, episode 3. And I was like, this is just too cool to not do. I have to do it. And I just have to figure out how to not be scared of it anymore, And it was really, really the most satisfying professional experience I've had since making The Big Sick.
Really?
I really felt like it's interesting because I've worked with a lot of actors who come from the comedy world. And so when you work with people who come from the other angle, from theater, from serious acting school, we may end up in the same place, but they come from a completely different perspective. The way they approach acting, it's so exciting to work with people like that, because comedy can be competitive, Even when I'm doing a stand-up show with my best friends, I want to be the best on that show. That's not the job of theater actors. They want to make you better. They want to be there with you. They want to collaborate with you. And you've done a lot of collaborative comedy. I started in stand-up. It's not collaborative at all. It's competitive. And then on this show, working with Murray Bartlett and Annalee Ashford, who are 2 of the best actors I have ever worked with, I learned so much from them. There was something I was doing in a scene in episode 7, and I was like, oh, I learned that from Murray back in episode 2. So it's every day you're working with these people who are the best you've ever worked with, and you're learning so much every day. And for the first time ever, I had I'm having trouble with this scene. And I would go to my co-stars and be like, hey, I'm having trouble with this scene. Could you help me through it? And we'd sit on the floor and we'd work on it together. It was so exciting. It was the most fun I've had at a job in a very long time.
I have to say, there's this way that our business, or whatever our business is, but television particularly, has changed so much. And we're in this era now where there's 8 episodes,
Yeah.
And I'm really think it's a great trend. It's a great innovation, because, as you know, TV used to be, can you get 5 seasons out of it? And and it used to be, in the really old days, can you get 10 seasons out of it, and can you just flog this horse until it dies?
Yes.
And now there are all these projects where people work really hard, as hard or harder than they would work on any feature film. They look great, they're beautifully made, and they take you on this journey that's like an 8-hour journey, and everybody gets pulled into it, and you watch it, you follow it, you get really invested, and when it's over, it's very satisfying. I like this new era of television.
Yeah, and honestly, our crew, wardrobe, hair, makeup, set design, props, everybody was the best in the business and really wanted to be really, really good. So the show looks amazing. Our DP, everybody's amazing. And the big thing for me going from doing sitcoms to this is, sitcoms are sort of about stasis. You're sort of resetting, like you were talking about Silicon Valley. Once we figure out our characters, that's the formula, and you're sort of doing that, iterating that in different ways. Doing a miniseries is about change.
Yes.
It's really about how these characters change over 8 episodes. So the approach is very different. With Silicon Valley, I could get a script and do it. With this, you really have to kind of map out all 8 episodes, where the changes are, the different decision points, the forks in the road, which side, which side you choose, which side you go. So it's like a very different approach, and it's really more exciting because you can kind of. It's not more exciting. I love doing comedy. Actually, we did. You were in Murderville.
Yeah.
I loved doing that show so much.
Wasn't that fun?
It was so fun because I just miss being like, all you have to do is be as funny as possible for these 30 minutes.
And react.
React, yeah.
Will Arnett, I'm sure, with you, he's called up and just said, I want to do this project where you don't know anything. You're a police trainee and you were going to enter scenes and not know what's happening and just respond. And I had people say to me later on, oh, that must have been terrifying. And I said, oh, no. There's nothing greater than having no responsibility.
Yes.
And also, I mean, it's Will Arnett. And he got all these other he's so brilliantly funny.
So funny.
But he's so much fun to play with. You can't fuck up because I have no lines. There's nothing I'm supposed to or not supposed to do. So then the little child in you comes out.
Yeah.
And you're just down with anything. It's just say yes to anything.
Yeah.
And it was so much fun. But you're right. There are these different ways now to work, and not just in comedy, but there are these different ways now to entertain, I think, that weren't available. Young people don't know this, but they weren't available 10 years ago. I think, to me, the big change, without getting like too analytical, is Breaking Bad was a TV show. It wasn't a sitcom, but it was a TV show that kept, I mean, more brilliantly than I think it had ever been done before. Characters are all changing very slowly over this. I don't remember how many seasons it is. Is it 8 seasons?
It was like
7? It's 6 seasons. Over 6 seasons, the vision that Vince Gilligan had he always said he wanted to take the main character, Walt. He wanted him to go from Mr. Chips, the English school teacher, to Scarface. But and do it so elegantly that you never questioned any step along the way, and he pulled it off. But you can't define where it all changes. It's so incremental that by the time it was over, you understood completely why this had all happened. Yet it's an insane journey, and I think now that the TV I grew up with was very much everything. Whatever happens in an episode, at the end of the episode, everyone has to be back where they were at the beginning of the episode.
Right.
That was the rule of sitcoms. It's like the Gilligan's Island. At the end of the episode, they have to still be on the island and content with their lot in life, and then we'll start the next one.
Yeah, whatever lesson they've learned, they'll have forgotten by the time the next episode starts.
It's totally true.
We really took that to the extreme on The Simpsons, where occasionally the top brass would come in and say, "You're making Homer too stupid."
Yeah, he forgets how to breathe at one point.
At one point, he forgets how to make his heart beat. And my favorite, and they used to come in and say, like, guys, come on, because we would try to outdo each other in the writer's room about how stupid we could make Homer. And my favorite was once Homer's brain got so mad at Homer that it walked out on him. I don't even know what that means, but there's a point where Homer's brain challenges him to not do something stupid, and he still does something stupid, and you hear Homer's consciousness go, okay, that does it. And then you hear footsteps and a door slam, which means his consciousness left him forever through a door.
Well, see, that's great. Those shows, there's a joy to them, like those comedy shows. I love those shows. Seinfeld, everybody stays the same. Those shows are amazing. It's just now it's a different type of thing. Like
different type of thing.
Breaking Bad is kind of the best example. We're just watching Better Call Saul for the first time.
Oh, it's so great.
It's so good. And, sometimes I always think of, Breaking Bad as like a serious show. I think of these serious shows as being serious. They're not. They're like really fun and inventive and funny. And I mean, Sopranos is really, really funny. I
Yep.
sort of forget that sometimes. But that was what was cool about Welcome to Chippendales, was trying to do that arc and like every episode figuring out where the little steps are so that it all makes sense. And the guy in the beginning, at the end, they're completely different.